Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the RLM podcast. I am your host, Eli Detter, and joining me and helping me co-host this podcast episode is Evan Haines.
Hello.
So today, obviously, I actually wasn't originally planning on doing a podcast episode, but I am here to bring you yet another great session of discussion. Today, I specifically actually want to talk about something that I don't think people talk about enough, and I think it needs to be talked about. It's crazy. I was actually writing up some notes earlier, and I realized that in the order I'd written them, it's the initials were RLM, which I don't know about you, but that's pretty crazy if you ask me. What I do want to talk about is how people view rejection in life, in relationships, in business, and just everything. Rejection is viewed as such a negative thing. And while I can understand that, of course, if someone says no to you after you've been trying your hardest or whatever, you've been going after them, you've been doing your best, and you go after them and they say no, of course it's going to hurt if they do that. But I think, especially as I got older, rejection stopped becoming so negative. I mean, of course, when you're young, I'm sure, Evan, you could probably test this when you're younger. No, just in general, when you're young and someone says no to you, even if you ask your parents for like a cookie or whatever, and they say no, you're like, dang, right?
Yeah, I'm out about it.
You're like, dang, I really wanted that, right?
Yeah.
And then I wish it were true, but I wish as we got older, rejection stopped becoming such this negative thing. But I mean, now it's even more. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, you get rejected, or you start working out at the gym or whatever, you become all depressed. I'm like, when I get rejected, I don't get depressed. I'm like, dude, you know how happy that makes me actually?
Yeah, people just gotta learn to learn from it, I guess.
It's because here's how I look at it. I came to you with the thought that maybe there was a possibility you'd say yes, right? I wouldn't go to you and ask you something if I didn't think you would say yes. But now that you said no, now that you decide to leave, I am no longer left wondering whether you're going to say yes or no, right? I don't have to spend my time. I don't have to waste my time, because now it's just a waste of time wondering what you're going to say, because I know your answer. You said what you said, and that's it. So when you say you're going over and you're talking to a girl and you ask her out or whatever, and they say no, don't look at it as, oh my gosh, I'm horrible, they must not like me, I'm ugly, or no, just be like, I got my answer, right? You asked a question, you got your answer.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think? What do you think about rejection in general? What do you think about like how people stereotype it?
Well, first of all, before I talk about that, I just wanted to bring up this thought for you. Yeah, what if when you wanted to start this podcast and you messaged whoever you messaged and you said, hey, I want to start this podcast at the school. Yeah. What if they said no? Like if
they had said no? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know, but you would have gotten your answer, and you would have been in a different place. You would have been in a different place.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I think rejection is more of a learning experience than a letdown.
Right.
I mean, obviously, no one likes to be rejected. Like if you build up the courage to ask out a girl that you've liked for a while and they say no, I mean that sucks.
Right.
Obviously, like I'm sure, and same thing with girls asking out guys. Like it goes both ways. But like I just think that whether you're rejected by a girl, like, or you're rejected from a job, or you're rejected from whatever, you gotta be like, okay, that stinks.
Right.
I mean, that's gonna suck. You can be upset about it for a day, and then after that day, you come in and the next day you wake up and you're like, all right, how can I do better?
Right.
Like, how can I make sure that doesn't happen again? How can I, or what different steps can I take to make sure that I can qualify myself for that position, or make me seem like I'd be a good boyfriend or girlfriend. Like, you got to be able to learn from it, because if you don't accept the fact that you can learn from it, it's just going to bring you down.
Exactly. And everything in life ultimately is a learning experience, an opportunity. It's truly, it might be cliche when people say it, but it's honestly, it's the best mindset to have when you look at things not as problems, but as opportunities. Not as something that is going to hurt you, but something that's going to challenge you. Not something that's going to stop you, like I said, not something that's going to stop you, but something that's going to make you think, that's going to make you have to try harder.
Yeah.
And I think I think we're coddled, especially in just this generation, right? I mean, everyone's like, oh, oh, so you got rejected. Oh, we go to our friends like, hey, I got rejected. And they're like, they pipe us up, and it's like at a certain point that's fine, but at the same time, like, do not cancel out human error.
Yeah.
Right?
Like if you go to your friends and all your friends do is like, oh, it's all right, they're lost, they're lost, they're lost. It's gonna build overconfidence in yourself, and it's gonna boost your ego, and all that's gonna do is hurt yourself even more, even if you don't know it. Like you might, if you keep getting hyped up, you're gonna feel like the best person in the world. You're gonna feel like you're on top, and then you're gonna get rejected, and you're going to free fall back down where you were, maybe even lower.
That's why my parents give me reality checks all the time, and now granted I do carry myself in a confident manner, I think, but usually what I do is I know what it took for me to get to the place I am, which is generally why I'm as confident as I am.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know it wasn't, I wasn't handed the world. I wasn't handed everything. I had to learn. I had to gain experience and knowledge, which is why, I'll walk around the school and I'm very confident about myself, my abilities and all that stuff. But like you said, you can't allow the people in your life just to tell you you're the greatest or you're the best because, one, it's not true, and two, you need to be realistic and know that being the best in life is not what's important. It's being true to yourself that's important.
Yeah, you like in sports. Obviously, there's a best. Like you got Wayne Gretzky, you got Tom Brady, you got Michael Jordan. Or LeBron if you're weird like that. But in life, there's no such thing as being the best. The only best you can be is yourself.
Right.
And that's
absolutely.
The only person that you should be comparing yourself to is the person you were 5 minutes ago, or 5 weeks ago, 5 days ago, whatever. Compare yourself to yourself and be like, have I improved? And if you haven't, you got to take your experiences and build off of that and be like, okay, how can I be better? So that I don't get rejected, or that I can have that confidence in myself.
Oh, right. Absolutely. I want to read a quote from, gosh, where is it? Okay, so in my entrepreneurship class, we were reading this book. And in one of the chapters that I read today, I saw this quote, and it was by Abraham Lincoln. I can't find exactly the quote. Anyways, what he says is, if you go into a situation with a winning mentality, right, where you're just concerned about winning, you're gonna lose your integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're only solely focused on winning, you're not going to take into account who you are being. Obviously, you're not going to take into account, is this actually me? Do I need to really be focused on winning, or do I need to be focused on being who I say I am, being who I want to be, being who I should be? And I'd say it's definitely a harder thing for people our age to do, because when we lose, we feel like, oh my gosh, the world's ending, right? We lose a big championship, or we lose a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or whatever. We think the world's over. It's all over. We're good for nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, one, why are you so focused on always having to be the winner of every situation? Why can't you just be focused on the lessons you might learn?
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't ever understand how people can go through their lives only worrying about what they might, whether they'll win or lose. It's not whether you'll win or lose. It's whether you'll learn or anything.
Yeah. Shoot, I had something I wanted to say. I'm totally drawing a blank. Keep going. Keep doing your thing. I cannot think of what I was going to say.
Now, there is... So it was interesting. So one of these things I wrote down 3 words. I wrote rejection, love, and mirror. And I'll explain what each of those mean. Obviously, rejection, like I said, it's not a negative thing. It really isn't. People think it's so negative. It's not. Because in every rejection, you learn something about who you are. You learn something about who the other person is. And once someone rejects you, there's no reason. You don't need to keep them in your life once they say no. If they say no to you, you don't need to keep them in your life. You can let go. I've had to deal with that. I think this past weekend I definitely had to let go for the last time, and that broke my heart, but I had to do it. With a friend that I never wanted to lose, but it was time to let go.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they exited in their natural fashion, just a little abruptly, but,
Yeah.
It's rejection. You gotta stop looking at it as a negative thing. It's the signal that you don't need to keep them around anymore.
Yeah. I mean, and it sucks.
Right. Yeah.
Rejection isn't just like, yay, I got
Right.
rejected. Like, that's not.
Right.
not-
right.
like,
No.
Of course, you're not going to be happy
No,
about it
no.
and like
Like
kick your feet.
yeah, I don't want to invalidate anyone's feelings. I just want to say, hey, it's not as bad as as you think it is. But love was the next one. Love. It is. I love talking about love. It's a fun topic because everyone has their own opinions. I'm gonna give what my definition of love is. Love is not just being there when it's easy. That's not love. That's easy. That's being in love. Being in love is being there when it's easy. Love is being there when it's hard. Love is being with that person. Being with that person when when it's difficult, right? When you have to have the tough conversations. It's seeing them in their worst situation and looking at that person, seeing who they are and knowing who they can be and loving both parts. Right? Loving the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. That's true love, right? Love isn't buying them a gift. That's easy. That's being in love, right? Love is, I don't know. Love is just telling them that you love them. Great. Yes, you can do that. That's, you could say, oh, I tell them I love them all the time. Great. You should tell people that you love them.
Yeah.
But I think love isn't giving them a gift. Love is being there, and accepting, not having to be gifted anything, right? Like if you love somebody, you don't ever need a gift from them.
Yeah.
Like
They are the gift.
Right, exactly. I don't need my friends or my loved ones to give me gifts because I got them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I told someone this weekend, I said, as long as I have my friends, my family, and my loved ones, that's all I'm already given everything I need in life, right?
Yeah.
Everything that I need comes with that. So love everyone, right? My parents asked me this question. They were like, "Are you friends with everyone?" I'm like, "No, I'm just very friendly with a lot of people."
Yeah. There's a difference between being friends and friendly.
And it was interesting because they made me think a little bit, and I was like, wow, I do always say, oh, this friend or that friend, because I just call people friends because I'm like, I'm friendly with them, right? Yeah. I say hi to them or I'll hang out with them. So I call them friends, and then they're like, well, why don't you hang out with your friends more? I'm like, well, because my close friends, I was like you, like Ella, like Calvin, Iris, I'm like, they aren't the friends where I need to always hang out with them. They're the friends that, as long as we know we'll be there for each other when we need them to. That's as much as we need. Of course, we can hang out with each other when we try. We try to hang out with each other and stuff like that. But I'm like, I think my closest friendships have never been the ones that we have to hang out. Because I'm like, I don't hang out with my friends all the time. That's just a thing. I'm busy. I've been trying to spend more time at home with my parents, especially after years of not hanging out with them and stuff like that. So, it's just like, yeah, I don't have the friendships that I need to go to the mall with them or I need to go out to dinner. I'm like, we could text each other all we want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's how friendship really should work. It shouldn't be, when people post stuff on their stuff, I'm like, yeah, great. You had a great time. But I'm like, what did you talk about? Did you talk about anything or did you just hang out at the mall?
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, if you're gonna hang out with them, make it of value, right? Like when I play video games with my friends, I talk to them. Like we're having a life conversation while we're playing that video game, because that's my way of one. I'm playing an awesome video game and I'm having fun, but I'm also hanging out with my friend. I'm not just like, oh, get that guy. No, I'm talking. I'm like, hey man, how you doing? How's life? We'll talk about girls or we'll talk about life or whatever, right? It's really what that's my favorite parts of friendships is when you can have those awesome conversations and it's just you're just clicking like that. But yeah, you got to love. I have no room for hate. If someone asks me who do I hate, I'm like I don't have any room for that. I don't have time to hate someone. You know how much effort it takes to hate.
And what do you gain from it? Like
exactly,
you actually gain stuff when you don't have to be like I love everybody, because
Right.
no
No.
one loves everybody. Like, that's like,
You don't have to. No one's
Yeah.
asking you to.
yeah, but like you will gain so much more when you're friendly with people and when you do stuff for other people, even if you don't care for them that much. Like, there's plenty of people that I'm like, yeah,
Right. Right.
like I don't really like you, but
Right.
I'll be nice to you. And then of
Right.
course there's people that I'm like, you're a really good friend of mine, or you're like a brother to me, or you're like a sister to me, whatever. You gain so much more from those people than
Oh,
you do
100%.
if you're like, oh, I hate this person. Like, they're so annoying. Like, all you do is get yourself angry.
Oh, yeah. I spent 13 years of my life always not ever allowing myself to actually experience love. I tried to convince myself that I hated everyone, and that's takes so much time, It's so much effort, so much time, because then they tell a joke and you're laughing, and you're like, oh, forgot I hated this person, right? It's like, no, just love them. It's not that hard. It
Yeah.
really is not. And love doesn't have to be, hugging and kissing. It's just got to be just being kind to them, like just respecting them as a person,
Mm-hmm.
Don't view them as just another. Don't view them as just another person. View them as their individual self. But if you don't like someone, great. No one's asking to have to hang out with that person. But
Yeah.
if you're gonna, say excuse me, say please, say thank you, all that stuff. That's what love really is.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with people like that where you don't really like them, you don't really care for them, you don't love them, but you can
Yeah.
still show love to them.
Yeah.
And the third word was mirror. So we had rejection, love, and mirror. So I was sitting over by the couches in the library, and there was a mirror right behind me, and I looked at it and I saw myself. I was like, this is, for some reason, looking in that mirror, just it hit me. I was like, this is the face that everyone sees, right? This is what everyone's seeing. And I honestly think everyone in their lives should take like 5 minutes out of their day and just look at themselves in the mirror. Not in like a greedy way. Just look at what the world is seeing, right?
Yeah.
Look exactly what is being reflected, and be like, is this, and not just the physical, but the emotional, the spiritual. Is this really who I want to be to the world? Is this is what people are seeing when they see me the reason that I keep getting rejected, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that why I'm not getting to the places that I need to be or that I want to be or whatever? And one, you can either change it or you can either accept it and be like, well, I'm not going to change, and everyone's just going to have to deal with that. But it's just like, it's interesting, right? You look yourself in the mirror and you're like, dang. Either one, you're like, well, dang, I am ugly as fuck. Or two, or you're the complete opposite end of that spectrum. But still, look at yourself and be like, is this really what I want the world to be seeing?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like looking in the mirror. I don't.
Oh, I hate it too.
But no, that's. I think I like what you kind of. I like what you did there, kind of just changing up the. I like what you did,
Yeah.
and I agree with that. I think that people are so worried about what they see in themselves,
Right.
like they're like. They don't even consider what other people are seeing.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just like, oh man, my nose is really big, or
Right.
or my eyes are too small or too big, or my ears are like, they're very insecure about silly things. But 99% of the time, you're talking to someone and you don't tell them like, oh yeah, I don't like the way my nose looks or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
99% of the time, they won't even notice it.
Oh, yeah, no.
Like and like haircuts too. Like I personally am very particular about my hair, and
Right.
I am very concerned. I'm very not insecure, but conscious of what other people might be thinking
Right.
about it. And like in reality, like there's plenty of people that wear hair in different styles, and like I've never looked at someone like, whoa, why is their hair like that?
Right.
Because I don't know if they're insecure about it. Now, if they pointed it out, then maybe I would be like, oh yeah, it's a little weird or something like that. But like, if you don't point it out and you just accept where you are,
Right.
then you can begin to look at what other people are seeing and then be like, okay, maybe it's not as bad as I thought.
Right. And it's like, yeah, I mean, that's why no two people really look exactly the same. We're all unique and different. And it's I don't know. It's like, yeah, you got to look at yourself, and first you got to be accepting of of who you are, not just physically who you are, but mentally who you are, who you know, how you love other people, how you act in situations. You got to accept that, and once you accept that, then you can look at other people and be like, you know, hey, you know, you noticed this about that other person. You know, I definitely noticed within the past year how much I can notice about another person, how I can notice kind of what they're thinking or what they're feeling, and you know, it can sometimes it'll completely change how I react to that person, right?
Yeah.
If you really take a minute, I mean, they say, you know, you get everything you need to know about a person usually within the first 10 seconds, and that usually completely shapes how you react to them. I think you need to take a little longer than 10 seconds. You need to take a good minute and just not like creepily look at the person, but like look at them, you know, notice.
Yeah.
Notice them, you know. Don't just notice what they're saying, notice their voice, notice their facial features, their body language, you know. And that's how you really can change someone's life, because once they realize that you're noticing that about them, then they're like, wow, I didn't even know that was something that people care to notice.
Yeah.
I mean, because you know there's plenty of people where like no one ever really took a chance to truly notice them.
Yeah.
And then they come across a person who notices everything about them, and hopefully that makes their day. Hopefully it makes them happy. You know, I have many people who tell me things about myself that I'm like, I would never have thought that, never have known that. I didn't know that was something people really noticed about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like talking about rejection, you also have to talk about acceptance, and that's kind of what your mirror topic does. It's just accepting yourself before accepting how others view you, because really what matters is how you view yourself. And if you don't view yourself, you don't have to be like, oh, I'm perfect, because you're not.
Yeah.
Like you're not.
Right.
Far from it. But you can look at yourself and be like, I'm pretty darn good looking.
Right.
And you don't even have to fully believe yourself. Just telling yourself that will boost your confidence, but not too much.
Right.
Because you don't want to be one of those guys where like, oh, I'm the best. I'm the best in the world.
You don't want to be that.
Because again,
no one likes that.
Again, you're not.
Right.
Yeah, with the rejection always comes acceptance, and I feel like accepting yourself is harder than accepting being rejected.
Exactly.
Because once you're rejected, then you start doubting yourself, and until you if you don't accept it right away, which again, you're not. You're not going to be rejected and be like, yeah, whatever. Because that's not how it works. But if you can take that time to kind of think to yourself, maybe write it down, write your thoughts down, or say it to yourself, talk to yourself. Like, I know some people are like, oh, that's so weird. But like, if you do it in that sense, like, it's not like, if you just tell yourself, you're like, okay, that sucked, but that's just the way I am and I can't change it. So why dwell on it? Accept yourself and move on, because if you don't move on, you're not moving anywhere.
Exactly. You're never going to move forward.
Because have you ever seen the movie Meet the Robinsons?
I have, yeah.
You know the quote from that? Keep moving forward. It's so simple, but it still is so relevant today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%.
With I sound like an old head saying this, but like with social media and with like new standards and new social cases and stuff like that, it's a lot harder to accept yourself.
Right. Because everyone's always telling you what to believe.
Everyone's like, well, you gotta do this. Like, this isn't fashion. You gotta wear these jeans, or you gotta have your hair like this. You gotta be playing this game. You gotta do whatever, etc., etc. You don't have to. You have to look at yourself and be like, am I so worried about fitting in with people that I won't even be talking to in 5 years? Or do you want to waste your time do you want to waste your time being in the present, or do you want to spend your time preparing yourself for the future where
Right.
where it actually matters?
Right. Yes. Absolutely. I'm gonna try and connect the three words rejection, mirror, and love. Rejection, I believe, is a form of love sent to us by God because it is a mirror of how other people view us.
Mm-hmm.
It is an exact reaction. It's an opinion. It's a definition of how the world views us, of how certain people view us, right?
Yeah.
When we are rejected by people, it is a mirror. It shines for a little bit. It shined a mirror. It's like a mirror right in front of you. That person, you try and you shoot your shot, and that person uses says yes or no, whatever. If they say no, it bounces right back to you. And like, wow, there must have been something about me that didn't appeal to them. So when I get rejected, I don't. Now, of course, I'm like, dang, I really thought that would work out. I really hope that would. But I don't look at it as, oh, I suck. I must be the worst. I look at it as God was showing me, hey, you weren't meant for that person.
Yeah.
That was a way of God being like, hey, I don't want you to make that mistake and try your whole life to be with a person who would much rather be with somebody else, right? And maybe it's just not the time. Maybe it's just not your time yet, and that's fine. Everyone's gonna find their time. Everyone is gonna have a time. You just gotta, one, be patient, and two, don't treat people differently because of what you think they think of you.
Yeah.
Don't assume anything about someone else or what their opinions are. Just be yourself, do you, and that'll get you through this life. That'll get you moving forward, and will ultimately get you to the right person.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So there you go. That's a quote. That's a quote of the day, people.
It's a long quote.
Yeah. Rejection is a form of love sent by God that shows you a mirror of how the world thinks of you. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's, and these were just things I picked. I just was going through the day, and I was like, wow, why is this just popping up in my head here? But yeah, rejection isn't as bad as it seems. You gotta love everybody, and you gotta look in the mirror, whether it's physically or, proverbially, and you just have to think about who you are and, really think, is this the person I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And if it is, fine, accept that. Accept who you are. And if it's not, then don't think, oh, I hate myself. Think, what can I change?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the gist of it. It's the long-winded version there. Snyder cut, if you will.
Snyder.
So yeah, for all the people listening, thank you for tuning in. I truly do appreciate all the support, all the gratitude, all the messages that I get from these podcasts. It's really amazing. Like Evan said in the beginning, if Steven had said no, I don't know where this podcast would be. I don't know if it would be a thing right now, but he said yes, and that was one of the turning points of my life. Absolutely. I mean, it sparked a project that's still working. We're still adapting and evolving, and trust me, this thing ain't going away anytime soon. So yeah, I truly thank you all for tuning in to the RLM podcast, especially that I put a little meaning to each of those letters there. It's just, well, of course, RLM stands for Real Life Motivation. Think reflection, love, and mirror. Thank you all for tuning in. Of course, you can find this podcast on Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and many more websites and apps and streaming services. Of course, this was Evan Haines and Eli Detter. You can find us both on Instagram. You can also find us through at RLM Podcast on Instagram. We thank you for your time, and we hope you have a wonderful day.